Happy March 1st, 2026. Long time no see. It is a new year and I still don't have a wireless mic, but I'm gonna order one right after I post this video. If you go back and you look at my videos from 2025, I think I did 3. I think I did February, April, and then maybe June or July. And that was the year I was supposed to be consistent. I realized one thing about me is that when something starts to feel like a chore or it doesn't bring me joy or spark joy, as people say, I just let it go. And so I let it go. But we're in a new year and I'm ready to kick it off again. It's the first day of March. It is about 4:45 in the evening, so the sun is starting to set behind me and it is 77 degrees today. And so I actually took a look at my first video of 2025 before I got on here to do this, and it was mid to late February. I think it was chilly. I was wearing a sweater and a beanie, and the garden was nowhere near this grown out like it is today. So I thought I need to go ahead and get back on YouTube for 2026 and share what our front yard farm is looking like. It's warm here. It's been warm here for about a week, and we're supposed to get at least 2 more weeks of spring weather. So spring might actually be here at this point. This might not be what they call a full spring, but we'll see. We'll see what the next few weeks have to hold. But I can't wait to show you guys what's going on in our front yard farm. I'm pleasantly surprised by how quickly things are growing. The daffodils are already blooming. They're blooming about 2 weeks earlier than they have in the past. I got my sweet peas planted a lot earlier in 2025, so they're looking amazing. And overall, I just can't wait to show you guys what's growing in the farm. So let's take a tour. Here we are. Look at how things are growing. Look at those hollyhocks. That's a hollyhock and that's a hollyhock. Those are some groupings of hollyhocks. They look like full-on shrubbery. This is an actual shrubbery. So amazing. Go back and look at 2025, how these hollyhocks looked in my February video. It's like day and night. So I didn't want to miss this. I know once the hollyhocks bloom out, usually they start to die back after the flowers start to fade and go to seed, and I really wanted to document this before we got too late in the season. Look how this upper level is looking. Some hollyhocks self-seeded here amongst the daffodils. I don't know if I'm going to keep those or not. I'd hate for them to choke out my daffodils that I have here, but we'll see how they do this year, and then we'll make the determination at the end of this year. But I'm loving how things are looking, so let's move on down to the bottom part of the front yard farm and see what's happening down there. First of all, we'll just do a walk by like this, because I don't do this often enough. I mean, I don't do the YouTube videos often enough, but I don't just walk this front edge just to showcase how everything is growing before we do a close-up of everything. So I'll go ahead and do that. There's still cleanup to be done, but that's always the case. Gardens are literally always changing, always growing, so there's always work to be done. But this is how things are looking. And I'll just give you a little play-by-play of what's growing in each bed. Okay, I'm gonna go quick, like I say every time. My goal is for these videos not to be half an hour, but sometimes I just start gushing over the plants and how excited I am about them. We have hollyhocks. This one is self-seeded. I want to say this might be year 2, maybe year 3 for that one. We have some Shasta daisies. I need to come through and clean up all the dead branches, dead stems. But those bloom mid to late summer. Beautiful white daisies with yellow centers. These are a mixed variety daffodils. I planted them late last year, so I didn't get any blooms from these last year, so I'm hopeful we'll get some this year. These are more self-seeded hollyhocks. More hollyhocks. There was one right here that had perennialized and was nice and bushy, but its life ended and it was completely dead by early this spring, so I pulled that one out. But that one's still doing amazing, and we have a bunch of garden debris that needs to get cleaned up. So as much as I wish my garden was like super picturesque, it's a working garden, it's a working farm, and there's always work to be done. There's a ton of self-seeded sunflowers here in the pathways. I don't know if I'll keep them. I probably won't keep most of them. I might keep one or two, but lots and lots of sunflower seedlings. I was considering digging some up and planting them in pots to sell a little piece of our farm at the farmers market this year, but we'll see. I'm gonna walk this way so my shadow is not as much in the frame. But this is bed number 2 with another self-seeded hollyhock here on the corner and a nice planting of daffodils. I love the daffodils so much. They're the first signs of spring, and probably my first 2 years of gardening I didn't really care for them, but when I realized I would really love some perennial flowers, they're what I chose, and they have been such a blessing to see each spring. We have sweet peas here at the base of this cattle panel. Usually they grow about halfway, 3/4 of the way up this cattle panel, so we'll see how tall these get this year. And then I planted some spinach, and then there's some volunteer sunflowers coming up here as well. So this is spinach that I sowed. That's spinach, but then we have some volunteer sunflowers that self-seeded here, because I let some sunflowers that were volunteers last year, I let them grow all year, so they scattered their seeds throughout the year, and now we have tons of volunteers. But here are the sweet peas. They're looking nice and green. And then that hollyhock there on the corner is a self-seeded volunteer as well. On to bed number 3. We have more sweet peas here. I was determined to get a great stand of sweet peas this year, and I'm so glad that it's working out. We do a cut flower CSA in the spring, and I didn't have as many sweet peas as I would prefer to have last year with my late sowing, so I really wanted to bulk up what we had this year. So I have 3 full cattle panels, which is the most I've ever done, I believe. I usually only do 2 rows of sweet peas here in the front yard, I think. I'll have to go back and watch my full February video because I can't remember. But we have daffodils here on the inside of this bed, and daffodils here on the walkway. You can take a closer look at the ones here. Here's how these are looking. If you ever grow daffodils for cut flowers to bring inside, you want to harvest them before they're open like this, because they can get sun, water, and bug damage super quick. So once they get to this point, I don't harvest them to sell. I just enjoy them in the garden, because they won't last very long in the vase at this point anyways. But I think they still look pretty in the garden. Here's a bunch of those volunteer sunflowers that I mentioned. So a sunflower that we some sunflowers that we let grow in the walkway. Dumped a ton of seeds right here. And they're all germinating. We'll end up pulling these out so we can actually walk in the walkways, and our bunnies really like sunflower seedlings, so they'll eat these as a snack. Here's a close-up of the top level of the front yard farm where I was standing earlier on the porch. There's a lot of greenery here. We let this quote-unquote weed go to seed last year. It's called henbit. Our rabbits really like this as well, so I'm letting it grow for rabbit forage and for the bees. And it's kind of acting as a living mulch as well. Keeping roots in your soil is one of the best things that you can do for your soil. So as opposed to pulling all these henbit out and leaving more exposed soil, I'm letting it grow and keep the soil cool, keep living roots. Some of these grasses I've been pulling out, but the henbit I pull out whenever I harvest it for our rabbits. And here are the volunteer hollyhocks. I think these are going to look super pretty once they get their bloom stalk and they start blooming, and they'll be nice and tall, and they'll help provide some shade for the daffodils that are up here. So we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't block out too much sun, but I think it'll be a nice visual to draw the eye upwards here in our cottage garden. Okay, this is our fourth rectangular bed. More daffodils. There's a bunch of volunteer hollyhocks in this pathway. We also like to forage the hollyhock foliage and the flowers for our rabbits. So we try to grow as much for our rabbits as we can in our own farm, and then we supplement that with their pellets. You can see there are the sweet peas looking nice and green, and I think that these have enjoyed being planted next to the daffodils. It's helped maintain moisture. So these ones are looking the most full and green out of all of the rows. But I was also able to add some compost to this bed, where I did not add any extra compost to this bed or the other one this past year. On to the square beds. We have 4 of these, so we have 4 rectangular beds, 4 square beds. I did some ranunculus plantings here. Some of the corms didn't make it through the winter, sadly. There was a lot more here, but we got some frosts and snow late January, early February. After the frosts in January and February, we also got some snow, I think, that took out some of our ranunculus corms, but I still have quite a few, and I probably have another 100 in the house that I have not even soaked. I'm tempted to see if it's too late in the season or not, but I can't wait until these start blooming. It's going to be so pretty. I have daffodils planted at the edges, this edge, some at the edge of this bed and the edge of this bed, and some of them are not coming up, so I'm wondering if they're either buried too deep or they rotted. But my goal by the end of 2026 is to order another maybe 200 bulbs and fill in areas where there's none coming up, and then also just see where I can stuff a few more. There's daffodils here. These are a later season, so these ones are just starting to break the soil surface. I put myself some walkways in the middle of these square beds because they're a little bit too large for me, but sometimes I need a weed in areas I can't reach from the outside. So I put the walkways in the center, so you'll see areas I mulched heavily with paper to remind myself this is where you're supposed to walk. There's tons of leaves in our garden. We get most of our leaves donated by people in our community. So If you've donated leaves to us or the community gardens, I really appreciate it. But this is some more ranunculus. This was nice and full, but you can see some areas are really spotty now, where the corms may have rotted. And then we have more volunteer hollyhocks here and here, there. Actually cut these all the way down to the ground because I didn't want them to come back this year, because I wanted to use this area as a walkway, but once they're there, they're very resilient. So they have come back from being cut all the way down to the ground. So we'll see if they flower or not. And if they don't, that's okay. We will harvest the leaves for our rabbits. I did a couple of containers there for the ranunculus. Like I said, I ordered hundreds of corms this year and didn't get them all planted, but I at least wanted to try. So I've gotten several different rounds planted, and I'm really liking the way these are coming up in the containers. So I think I might try at least 2 more containers and see how those do. This is more ranunculus, my pathway, and some strawberry plants that I bought in Texas. I mulched these the other day because they were looking super wilty, but when we bought these, they already had some strawberries on them. So I was hoping this one would size up a little bit more, but now that it's in full sun, the berries are ready to ripen. So, but it has some flowers on it. And this variety is Seascape, grown in Texas. So the goal is to enjoy whatever berries it makes this year. But then we're also hoping to harvest some runners and some crown divisions from these strawberries and eventually plant some of these at the community gardens as well. Square bed number 4. We have some earlier season daffodils. So several of these have bloomed already and I've already plucked those off. I don't leave my spent flowers on too long because I don't want them to try to make seeds. That takes energy away from the bulb. And on this side, we have more daffodils. These ones are a little bit of a later season daffodil, so they're just starting to break the surface. And of course, self-seeded sunflowers. And over here begins our in-ground beds. Lots more daffodils. This is year 2 for these. I planted all these last year and they kind of came up a little spotty because I didn't get a whole winter underground, but now they're coming up really nicely. And I'm gonna harvest that one and that one. And there's one over there that I'll probably harvest as well. The ones that are already open get to enjoy their time in the garden, and the bees get to enjoy them as well. I was trying to look in a daffodil yesterday to see if I should harvest it, to see if it had bug damage or not, and when I looked inside of it, there was a little bee crawling around. For some reason I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." Like, let me get out of your business. But yeah, there's some trash. I don't know. This is my front yard, and for some reason when stuff gets caught in the wind, it finds its way over here. So we're gonna have a cleanup day here pretty soon. This daffodil looking sad. I don't know why it looks so sad. Underneath this top layer of compost, it's relatively moist. I watered yesterday, but like I said, it's been in the upper 70s the last few days, so the soil has been drying relatively quickly. And I think once these daffodils are finished for the season, I might plant bush beans in between these plants, and then maybe I will do tomatoes up the center so that they can grow up this trellis. Either cherry tomatoes or Roma tomatoes. And then over here is some direct seeded spinach. But I think starting next week, I'm actually going to do spinach in cell trays to transplant. It's just not growing as quickly as I would like. But the thing about starting cell trays indoors is that I can give them 16 hours of light, and that should help speed up their growth. And I need to get some harvestable spinach before it's too warm. And there's some grass coming up over here as well. But it's just a little bit of a challenge keeping this watered and moist, and that might be one of the reasons why that spinach is growing a little slowly. I tried to transplant some snapdragons over here, but it was really cold and they weren't really hardened off. So there's only remnants left. But I have more indoors that I'm going to up pot and then harden off, and will probably get transplanted by the beginning of April or maybe late March if I can stay consistent. More daffodils. This one is done. So this is what they look like when they're spent. You know, just very wilty. The casing is very crispy. And when you're harvesting daffodils, what you want to do, find the stem, come down as low as you can, and I just stick my thumb right there, and I use my pointer finger and my thumb. I pinch and pull. And the reason why I do that instead of using snips is because daffodils have a toxic sap that can irritate your skin if you're not used to it. I've been harvesting daffodils for many years, so I guess my skin is used to it. It doesn't really irritate me, but if you're new to daffodils and aren't sure if the sap will irritate your skin, wear gloves and use snips if you want to, but if you don't want to use snips, then harvest it that way, and the sap won't come running out because you pinched the end of the stem instead of cut it. It's not focusing that great, but we'll see if we can get it to focus. Yeah, so if you cut it, sap will literally come running out like sap, like syrup. But if you pinch it like that, it does not come running out. But yeah, this is a spent daffodil, and that is how you can harvest your daffodils. So this one is ready to be harvested. This is the best stage to harvest for storage. So I have some bouquets that I need to make at the end of the week. So I'm going to harvest it at this stage, put it in the refrigerator, and it'll still be good by the end of the week. And then once I take it out of the refrigerator, then it will bloom. But if you harvest it later than that, it won't hold as long for you. So there we have a cattle panel down the center that I need to pick up and retie. And then we'll take a look at these last two rows, which is more daffodils. And I might grow snap peas because this is under a mulberry tree. So in the summer, this tree casts pretty much full shade to this area. So I can grow, I might do spinach or salad greens, something that grows well in shade. And then over here are some daikon radish that I sowed last winter. I've been harvesting them because I had some over here interplanted with the daffodils as well, but I harvested them all this week. And then next week I'll start harvesting these, and we feed those to our rabbits as well. But this is what the flowers of daikon radish look like. Very cute. Very cutesy. And then over here we have walking onions that I can start harvesting from pretty soon. Maybe in about 2 weeks I can take our first harvest, and I just trim these with kitchen scissors. And you can store them if you want to, chop them up and freeze them in small freezer bags. They freeze nicely, and then we usually will use it to top whatever dishes, or use it for sauces like ranch. We'll use our own homegrown green onions for our homemade ranch, salad dressing, and dipping sauce. This is a dwarf pea. This self-seeded from last year because I grew dwarf peas over here. I'm gonna leave it because I really like the foliage for some of my flower arrangements. But this is how the front yard farm is looking from this side. The thing about a flower farm, a working flower farm, is that you rarely will get to see all the flowers bloomed out unless it's a U-pick, which maybe that'll be something we do in the future. But I do try to harvest my blooms as soon as they're ready. But the sweet peas bloom so quickly that probably by my April video, you'll probably get to see some sweet pea blooms. So that'll be nice to look at, as well as the hollyhock blooms. Well, there you have it. That is how the front yard farm is looking on this first day of March 2026. How time flies. I can't believe I only did 3 videos in 2025. But I'm gonna try, to the best of my ability to document things for 2026. We have a lot going on, and I hope to also showcase some of the work that we're doing in our community gardens. Here on our Squire Studio Micro Farm YouTube channel, it's mostly been, what we've been doing at our home farm. But I would love to show the progress of the community gardens that we're stewarding, and the second grow space that we have for our micro farm. Another exciting development is that I'm partnering with the New Mexico Healthcare Authority to do some social media outreach about some of the changes that are being implemented at the federal level for SNAP and Medicaid. So I'll be sharing some posts across social media about some of those changes through a paid partnership. So that's really exciting. So when I get that wireless mic and a tripod, I can use them as business expenses since I actually have my first paid partnership. But I'm gonna try to get those posts shared before the end of April. So if you're following me on TikTok or Instagram, it's courtney.mccary. You can check out those posts whenever they're live. I will have to be submitting the analytics, so I would love for them to do well and reach many people across the state. So when you see them on TikTok or Instagram, please feel free to share them. That'll help me out. So I'm excited to continue to share the work with you guys and showing you all the progress that's made for 2026. Especially highlighting our Puerto Rico Avenue Community Farm and Garden. So stay tuned for that. I will definitely be making a YouTube video showcasing the work that we've done at that site. So until next time, keep learning and keep growing.